Is your head the noisiest place on the planet? That constant inner chatter, always criticizing and worrying, rarely offering support? You're not alone. But what if I told you that most of that noise is just mental clutter, junk you can and should get rid of? Today, we're not just talking about positive thinking. We're diving into the arsenal of the ancient Stoics, true masters of managing the mind. We'll break down 10 types of thoughts they identified as mental clutter, thoughts they strongly advised letting go of immediately. By the end of this video, you won't just have a list, you'll have a real toolkit for finding inner peace. And I promise some points might surprise you. So, who were these Stoics? They weren't just dusty old men in togas. They were emperors like Marcus Aurelius, playwrights like Seneca, and even former slaves like Epictetus, the rock stars of ancient philosophy. They were united by one thing. They sought a way to live a happy and meaningful life, no matter the chaos around them. Their main secret was simple, yet brilliant. They taught that the key to peace wasn't changing the world, but changing your attitude towards it. And that change starts with letting go of unhelpful mental habits. Okay, let's start our mental journey. And the very first thought we need to ruthlessly discard is, I have to be in control of everything. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? We try to control work projects, our partner's mood, our friends' plans, and even the weather on picnic day. We become tired managers of our own universe, where every little thing that doesn't go according to plan causes stress and irritation. This constant fight for control is a huge drain on your mental and emotional energy. It's a direct path to burnout, leaving you simply wanting to lie down and do nothing. Let's imagine a simple situation. You're stuck in heavy traffic. The cars aren't moving. You're late for an important meeting. What do you start doing? Nervously tapping your fingers on the steering wheel, angrily looking at the other cars, mentally cursing the whole world. But let's be honest. Does your irritation affect the speed of traffic? Of course not. The only thing you achieve is raising your own blood pressure and ruining your mood for the entire day. And this is where the Stoics step in with their brilliantly simple solution. They would say, focus on what is within your power. You can't control the traffic, but you have complete control over your reaction to it. You can get angry and suffer. Or you can put on your favourite music, listen to an audiobook, or simply use this time to breathe calmly. Letting go of the illusion of total control is not weakness. It is your first and most crucial step towards true inner strength and peace. Let's move on to the second point. Perhaps this one is even more debilitating than the first. It's that quiet, persistent question that constantly echoes in your mind. What will other people think of me? This fear is a genuine paralytic. Think of all the things you haven't done out of fear of judgment. How many times have you held back a question, afraid of sounding foolish? How many times have you abandoned a dream or a hobby because it seemed unserious to someone else? We constantly edit ourselves, our words, our appearance, our desires, to fit imaginary standards inside other people's heads. The Stoics had a very direct view on this. They called it voluntary servitude. You are essentially handing the key to your happiness and self-worth over to every person you encounter. Your mood starts depending on a random sidelong glance, a comment on social media, or gossip behind your back. But here's the harsh, yet incredibly liberating truth. Most people aren't thinking about you at all. They're too busy thinking about their own problems. So what's the way forward? Remember our circle of control. Other people's opinions fall far outside of it. You simply cannot control it. The only things you have power over are your own actions and your own integrity, living in accordance with your own principles, rather than living to meet others' expectations. That is true freedom, and it is far more valuable than the fleeting approval of others. The third mental pitfall we stumble into with alarming frequency is catastrophizing. This is that internal voice screaming, it's terrible, it's all over, even over the slightest setback. Sent an email with a typo? Your inner critic is already painting vivid scenes of getting fired and facing humiliation. Your child brought home a low grade. Your mind immediately jumps to a future where they're unsuccessful, uneducated, and unemployed. This habit of turning a molehill into a mountain is an incredibly draining process. You play out these worst-case scenarios in your mind repeatedly, even though they almost never actually happen. The Stoics offered a powerful antidote to this kind of panic. They called it premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils, what we might call negative visualization today. The goal wasn't to frighten yourself more, but quite the opposite, to find peace. They suggested calmly asking yourself, okay, what's the absolute worst that could realistically happen? When you truly break down the situation, you realize that even the most undesirable outcome isn't the end of the world. You can handle it. A typo in an email, you apologize and send a correction. A low grade at school, that's an opportunity to talk to your child and help them improve. This technique helps you distinguish between a real problem and an imagined catastrophe. Instead of being a victim of panic, you become someone who calmly seeks a solution. This process lowers your anxiety levels and helps you regain control over the situation. Let's move on to the fourth virus idea that's deeply ingrained in the minds of modern society. It goes something like this. I'll be happy when I get that promotion, buy a new car, go on vacation, then I'll really be happy. This is the delayed life syndrome, an endless chase after a horizon that keeps moving further away. As soon as you get that long-awaited promotion, the joy is short-lived, and you're already setting your sights on the next step. You buy a new smartphone, but in just a couple of months, a new model comes out, and suddenly yours doesn't feel so great anymore. This mindset transforms life into an endless race for achievements and possessions. It's based on the false belief that happiness is a destination, not the journey itself. You miss out on thousands of small daily joys because your focus is fixed on some distant, bright later. The Stoics, however, taught that true happiness doesn't depend on external circumstances. It comes from inner virtue and the ability to appreciate what you have, right here, right now. They would say that waiting for an external event to feel good is like placing your well-being in the hands of fate. And that, as we know, is outside our sphere of control. Happiness is a skill that needs to be practiced every day. It's in your morning coffee, in a chat with a friend, in a job well done, and it's available to you right now, not just sometime in the future. The fifth heavy burden many of us drag through life is the thought, my past determines my future. It's as if we carry a huge invisible backpack, packed full of old mistakes, hurts, failures and disappointments. Messed up a past relationship, then you assume new ones are doomed. Flopped one project at work, then you think you're completely incompetent. Did someone hurt you a decade ago? You're still replaying that moment, poisoning your present. This clinging to the past stops you from acting freely. You look at new opportunities through the lens of old failures. You're afraid to take chances because you remember the pain of past setbacks. In essence, you let the past version of yourself call the shots for your life today. But what would the Stoics say? They would remind you that the past no longer exists. It's beyond our control. The only thing we truly possess is the present moment. Here and now. The past is only useful as a source of lessons, nothing more. Learned the lesson? Great. Now let go of the emotional baggage. Epictetus said, it is not events themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about these events. You cannot change what happened, but you can change your attitude toward it right now. And that decision is what frees you, opening the path to the future you are creating today, not yesterday. Here's the sixth illusion, quite similar to the fourth, but with a subtle, even insidious twist. It's the thought, I'll be happy later, on vacation, in retirement, when the kids grow up. If the fourth illusion is about chasing a specific goal, this one is simply about postponing life indefinitely. We treat the present moment like a draft, a rehearsal before the real show. We endure jobs we hate, count down to Friday. We spend our weekdays caught in a grey routine, dreaming of those 2 weeks of vacation a year. We tell ourselves, once I retire, then I'll really start living. I'll travel, pursue my hobbies. But there's a tragic flaw in this way of thinking. Firstly, that later might never actually come. Life is unpredictable. Secondly, even if it does arrive, the habit of not noticing joy in the present won't magically disappear. A person who couldn't find happiness on a Monday is unlikely to suddenly learn how to be happy in retirement. They'll just find new things to worry about and wait for. The Stoics were absolute champions of the present moment. Memento mori, remember death, wasn't a morbid slogan for them, but a powerful call to life. Remember that your time is limited, which means every single day holds immense value. Don't wait for a special occasion to truly live. Find meaning and joy in your everyday tasks. Learn to appreciate what's happening right now, whether it's a routine chore or spending time with friends. Because life isn't what will happen later. Life is what's happening to you right this very second. The seventh thought is a universal cry that everyone knows. It sounds like, "This is unfair. Your colleague got promoted even though you worked harder." Someone effortlessly receives what you've been fighting for years. Events happen in the world that seem like the ultimate injustice, and the first instinctive reaction is anger, resentment, and a feeling of powerlessness. We get stuck on this thought, replaying it in our heads, asking the universe the rhetorical questions. Why? Why me? This search for justice is understandable, but from a Stoic perspective, it's absolutely unproductive. Why? Because the concept of justice is a human judgment. The universe isn't obligated to meet our expectations. It simply exists according to its own laws. Demanding fairness from the world is like demanding it not to rain on your birthday. It's a complete waste of energy. The Stoics propose shifting your focus. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they advised asking a different question. What can I do about it? This simple change in perspective switches you from being a passive victim to an active agent. Yes, the situation might be unpleasant, but instead of boiling with indignation, you channel your energy into finding a solution. You can't change the fact that your colleague got promoted, but you can analyze the situation, improve your skills, or start looking for a different job. You stop wasting energy tilting at windmills and start building your life based on reality, not on ideas about how things should be. The eighth dangerous misconception that whispers in our ear in moments of difficulty, "I can't handle this." This thought is a true saboteur of our potential. When faced with a challenge, whether it's a tough project, a personal crisis, or a new responsibility, we often fall into a panic. The task feels too big and our strength too small. We predict failure in advance, and this fear paralyzes our will, making us give up before the fight even begins. We look at the mountain, and instead of taking the first step, we decide it's too much for us. Stoicism is a philosophy of inner strength. Stoics believed that within each person lies a vast reservoir of strength and resilience, which we often don't even realize we have. They would argue that the challenges the universe sends us are never more than we can handle. Difficulties are not a punishment, but training for the soul. Just as an athlete trains their muscles with weights, we train our character by overcoming obstacles. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," a Stoic would ask themselves, "What inner resources can I draw upon to tackle this challenge? What virtues do I need right now? Courage, patience, creativity." This approach changes everything. The problem stops being an insurmountable wall and becomes a training ground. You begin to see difficulties not as a threat, but as an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And you almost always discover that you have far more strength than you initially thought. The ninth mental weed, flourishing particularly in our consumer society, is the belief, "I need more stuff to feel better." We live in a world where advertising constantly tells us that the key to happiness is a new gadget, fashionable clothes, a more expensive car, or a bigger house. We're led to believe that buying something new will fill an inner void, lift our spirits, or boost our status in the eyes of others. And for a brief time, it might actually work. The thrill of a purchase gives a small hit of dopamine, but it quickly fades and the emptiness returns, craving another fix of shopping. This endless chase for material possessions is a trap. It forces us to work harder just to buy things we don't really need, often to impress people we don't even care about. It leads to debt, stress, and a perpetual feeling of dissatisfaction. The Stoics, however, took a completely opposite stance. For them, true wealth wasn't about having much, but about desiring little. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." They taught finding satisfaction within, in knowledge, virtue, and relationships, rather than in external trappings. They would advise asking yourself before a purchase, will this truly improve my life in the long run, or is it just a fleeting whim? The ability to distinguish between needs and wants is the key to financial, and more importantly, mental freedom. And finally, the 10th point, perhaps the most insidious, because it's often disguised as self-care. It's the belief. You must avoid any discomfort at all costs. Modern culture seems utterly obsessed with comfort. We constantly seek out the most comfortable furniture, the fastest delivery, the easiest route. We try to eliminate every difficulty, every physical or emotional inconvenience from our lives. It seems perfectly logical. Who in their right mind would want problems? Yet, this relentless pursuit of total comfort hides a significant danger. By constantly staying within our comfort zone, we become soft and fragile. Our psychological resilience suffers. The slightest annoyance, any deviation from our usual routine, throws us off balance and can even cause panic, simply because we've lost the ability to handle hardship. We end up like delicate hothouse plants that wither at the slightest breeze. The Stoics, however, practiced something called voluntary discomfort. They weren't masochists. They did it deliberately to train their minds and strengthen their will. Seneca, for instance, would occasionally live for several days like a poor person, eating simple food and sleeping on a hard floor, just to prove to himself that poverty wasn't as frightening as it appeared. Other Stoics might intentionally wear thin clothes in cool weather or take cold showers. The aim of these practices wasn't self-punishment, but rather tempering the spirit. They help you realize you're far more resilient than you imagine. They diminish your fear of hardship and deprivation. By deliberately experiencing small, controlled discomfort, you prepare yourself for the larger, uncontrollable challenges that life inevitably throws at you. You become a psychologically flexible and strong person, someone not easily broken. But the core, the most powerful idea that ties everything together is what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. And this is a real paradigm shift. Imagine two circles. In the small inner circle is everything you can control 100%. These are your thoughts, your judgments, your reactions, and your actions. And that's it. This is your circle of control. And in the vast outer circle is everything else. The weather, the global economy, traffic jams, the past, the future, and yes, other people's opinions of you. The Stoics say, spending your energy, your nerves, and your time on the outer circle is madness. It's a guaranteed path to anxiety, anger, and frustration. You are trying to control the uncontrollable. And here's the pivotal realization. Your happiness and peace don't depend on what happens in that outer circle. They are entirely within your small, inner circle. To grasp this is to find true freedom. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the master of your reaction to them. This is the Stoic superpower. Applying this principle doesn't mean becoming an unfeeling robot. It means taking back control of your life where it's truly possible. In your own mind, it means directing your energy toward what you can change and finding peace regarding what you cannot. Thanks for watching this video through to the end. If these ideas resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos on practical philosophy for modern life. Now, a question for you. What area from that outer circle do you find yourself struggling with most often? Share in the comments below. Let's discuss it together.